Alright, in this video I will be going over a buff and nerf that every brawler needs in Brawl Stars. Let's get into it. Also, if you all enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It does help me out a lot. Let's get into the video. Okay, so we start off with Shelly. So for Shelly, I want two buffs for her. The first one will be a 1 to 2 tile attack range buff because I feel her having a bit more range might help her overall. And I would like her fast forward gadget to have a 1 tile dash increase so that Shelly can get closer to her opponents. Then we move on to Nita. I would like Nita to get a 5% fur shield increase, which is her second gadget, so that her bear can have a 40% shield rather than a 35% shield. A tiny buff might help Nita get into the meta. For Colt, I would like his silver bullet gadget's damage increased from 2 bullets to 3 bullets so that it would actually become more viable rather than it just being used to break walls on any map. For Bull, I would like his damage to be increased from 7000 to 7350. Might help him out a bit, to take some hits, charge his super a bit easily without dying more frequently. And overall, I just think Bull needs a bit more health to be more viable in the meta. I would like Jessie to have a buff to her shocky star power. I would like the range of the star power be buffed from 51% to 58% because right now energize is the only star power that is used. And even though shocky can be usable in some scenarios, I would like this buff to be given to shocky so that it can become more viable and it might even overtake the energized star power. For Brock, he's just insane in the meta, so I would like to have his main attack decreased from 1540 to 1460. For Dynamike, I would like a rework to his fidget spinner gadget. We all know that it's just a really bad gadget right now. They've tried to fix it. They haven't really been able to. His satchel, I don't know the exact name, something satchel, right? That gadget is just much better. The stunish is really good, but I would like to see a rework to the fidget spinner gadget. For Bo, I would like to see an increase to his main attack, so his damage per arrow I would like it to be increased from 728 to 826. For Tick, I couldn't really think of any nerf or buff. I think he's just pretty solid in the meta, so no buff or nerf required for Tick. And the same goes for 8-bit. No buff or nerf required for 8-bit really, and I just couldn't really think of anything to buff for him. He's just pretty balanced in the meta. For Ems, I would like the range of our friend zoner gadget to be increased by 1 tile to make it sort of similar to how it was when it first came out and just to make it a bit stronger. That's what I would like to see. For Stu, we have a ton of nerfs because, well, Stu is just insane in the meta right now. First nerf, I would like to see his main attack damage decreased from 840 to 780, and I would like to see his health decreased from 3920 to 3740. I would like to see these two nerfs for Stu. Now we move on to the rare brawlers, starting off with El Primo. For El Primo, I would like to see an increase to his trait, which is the supercharged rate thing. Whenever he takes hits, he will regain some part of his super. So I think first thing they did was they made it 13 hits for him to charge his super. I don't think they should change that whatsoever. I think that is okay, but that also did make Primo much more worse in the meta, so I would like to see an increase to his trait specifically and not to his usual supercharge rate. For Barley, I couldn't really think of any buff or nerf. I think Barley is pretty balanced in the meta, really good on certain maps like Pit Stop. He's mainly good on a lot of heist maps, can be used in like dueling beetles, etc. Barley really good right now, so I couldn't really think of any buff or nerf for him. Now for Poco, I would like to see a buff to his protective tunes gadget. I would like to see the ability duration. I would like to see the ability duration increase from 2 seconds to 5 seconds. So I know massive buff, but I think that is what is required, or just some massive buff for it to be, well, even usable in the meta. For Rosa, I don't think she needs any buff or nerf. She's solid in the meta, and yeah, just couldn't really think of anything. Then we move on to Rico. I would like to see a decrease to his bouncy castle healing ability from 250 health per projectile to 150 health per projectile. I think it's just an insane gadget right now, and it will get nerfed at some point, and I think this is the right nerf for it. For Darryl, I would like to see his star barrel gadget replaced, just completely replaced. I don't think anyone even uses Darryl really. He can be visible at some points, but yeah, this gadget is just not great at all because he's only ever used in Heist and you don't want that in Heist. So I would like to see a completely new gadget for him, and I would like this gadget to be where Darryl will get an insta super, sort of like a Buzz, Edgar, etc. Well, more like Buzz. For Penny, I would like to see a main attack damage increase from 1260 to 1420. I think Penny really weak in the meta, only usable on Hot Zone, and even in Hot Zone there are only certain maps. So I think a damage buff is really what is required to make her meta. Then we move on to Carl. For Carl, we have a lot of buffs because again, just bottom 5 brawler right now. I would like to see a main attack increase from 924 to 980, so a small buff, and that might help him out. I would like to see an increase to his attack speed as well. That would be really good. And I would like to see a rework to the heat ejector gadget, sort of like Dynamike's fidget spinner gadget. It is just unusable. His second gadget is so much better. I feel they either need to rework the heat ejector gadget or they need to massively nerf the flying hook gadget to make this one usable. For Jacky, once again, I would like to see a lot of buffs for her because she is really bad in the meta. So, firstly, we all know the game developers, mainly Frank, did say on Twitter that they're working on a rework for Jacky's super. So that's one thing which we will be getting in the near future. So that's one thing that I would want. And secondly, I would like to see a buff to her Hardy Hard Hat start power, where the damage reduction would increase from 10% to 18%, giving her a bit more health, making her more of a tank, and just being, well, really solid because her attack range too is pretty low. So I think that's what is required for Jacky to be usable. For Piper, I don't think there's any buff or nerf required. She is really strong in the meta, don't get me wrong, but that is mainly because of brawlers like Brock and Belle being really good in the meta as well. Now, not saying Piper is a bad brawler otherwise, she's good, but I think she is where she should be and probably in a good place right now. So I don't think she needs a nerf or a buff. Moving on to Pam, I would like to see a main reduction to her second star power. What is it called? I don't have it noted here. Okay, now we move on to Pam, and I would like to see a nerf to her scrap sucker gadget. Firstly, I would like to see an ammo reduction and the ammo reclaimed get a massive nerf from 25% and 50% to 20% and 40% respectively. It can even go down to 15 and 30, but I think if it goes that low, it won't be usable. So I think this can be a decent nerf for it. We'll have to see how the second gadget would be if this nerf does take place. Now for Frank, I would like to see an extra trait that would reduce the amount of time Frank can be stunned by any ability by 50%. This might be a massive buff for him, but I think that this can be tested out and it might be a good buff for him. And because of this, I would like to see a new second gadget as well for him, which would replace his noise reduction gadget. And I would like to see a gadget which would increase his super charge rate for the next attack by 50%. So that would let him charge his super a bit faster as well. For Bibi, I don't really think she needs a nerf or buff. She's pretty balanced in the meta. And the same goes for B as well. Don't think she needs a nerf or a buff. Pretty solid in the meta. Now for Nani, I would like to see a nerf to her return to sender gadget, which would reduce the shield from 80% to 70%. For Edgar, I couldn't really think of much for him. The only thing I could think of was a health buff. So I would like to see Edgar's health increase from 4,200 to 4,650. For Griff, I don't think he requires a buff or a nerf. I also haven't been able to play him that much because I don't have Griff. That's right. Well, I have Griff, but I don't have him maxed out, so couldn't test him out that much. But from what I have played with him, I don't think he requires a nerf or buff. But let me know in the comment section down below if he does require a change. For Mortis, I would like to see a change to his long dash delay. It's called long dash delay, but we can call it as its coiled snake ability. So I would like to see it increased from 4.5 seconds to 6 seconds, and I would like to see the coiled snake star power reduce the time from 6 seconds to 4.5 seconds. Or what they can do is just remove the change that they put to him in the last balance changes and just keep it as how it was earlier. For Tara, I would like to see the number of shadows spawned from her support from beyond gadget decreased from 3 to 2, but I would like to see their health increased from 1000 to 1400. For Jean, I would like to see a rework to his Vengeful Spirits gadget. It's just not usable. They've tried to buff it a lot, but it just doesn't work. Then I feel they need to rework the gadget. For Max, I couldn't really think of a nerf or buff. Maybe a buff or nerf towards supercharged star power. That's the only thing I could think of, but I wasn't sure about that, so I haven't put anything here. But yeah, no buff or nerf required for Max. For Mr. P, I would like to see his base porter health increase from 2100 to 2550. I feel that he needs to have more health for it to be usable whatsoever. For Sprout, I don't think he needs a buff or nerf. He has always been a good brawler in the meta, but I think he's sort of balanced. He has been for a while, so no buff or nerf for him. For Byron, a brawler that is really strong right now because of the Byron Ash duo, but I mean, people are hyping it up a lot. I don't think it's that great. You can sort of counter it with Spike, with Crow, with B, etc. Those are certain brawlers that can counter that comp. But yeah, for Byron, I would like to see a main attack damage decrease from 560 to 500, and the same decrease for Byron's healing abilities. For Squeak, I would like to see a main attack and super damage increase from 1400 to 1600. This might be a bit of a big buff, but I think it's what's required because even after the buff that he got last time, people and myself expected Squeak to be really strong in the meta, but that hasn't really happened. So I think with this buff, Squeak would actually be usable in the meta and would be a top 10 brawler. For Spike, I would like to see a decrease to his life plant gadget health from 3500 to 2800. A really strong gadget right now. It desperately needs a nerf as quick as possible. For Crow, I would like to see a decrease to his slowing toxin gadget speed reduction. I almost said speed reduction. I don't know what that was, but I would like to see it decreased from 5 seconds to 4 seconds. This might be too little of a nerf, but I think this can be a good place to start off because this gadget is really strong. For Leon, I would like to see a decrease to his lollipop drop gadget health from 1500 to 1250, and I would like to see the gadget take 50 damage every second that it is on the map, similar to Bo's super totem gadget. Because yeah, it is insane in hot zone, and yeah, Leon definitely a top 5 brawler in hot zone for me. I think his gadget does require a nerf. For Sandy, I would like to see a decrease to the Sweet Dreams gadget charges per match, so the number of times that it can be used. I would like to see it decreased from 3 times to 2 times. I couldn't really see how to nerf the gadget itself because I mean the time of the stun was decreased to 1 second. I don't think it should be decreased further because then it would just be a really underwhelming gadget. So I think a good nerf to it would be that the number of times it can be used should be decreased from 3 to 2. For Amber, well, I mean, she's an okay brawler in the meta, but one thing is it's way too easy to auto-aim with her, so I would like to see a change to that as well. Maybe they can add a bit of a short delay similar to what they did with Ruffs when he was released, after he was released I should say. But I think that's enough that can come to Amber, but honestly she doesn't really require one. This is the only one I could think of, so I put it down. For Gale, I would like to see an increase to each snowball damage from 504 to 612, And I would like to see an increase to his spring ejector gadget, where the number of tiles you can jump to be increased from 6 tiles to 9 tiles. Gale is really weak in the meta right now. I think these buffs will make him usable at least in maps like in-game modes like Heist, Siege and Hot Zone. For Surge, couldn't really think of a buffer enough. Pretty good, pretty solid in the meta, so no buffer enough for Surge. For Colette, I would like to see an increase to her damage percentage from 35% to 42%. Colette has sort of fallen off in the meta, only used on some heist maps. So I would like to see this. I would like to see this buff to her, and yeah, might even make her a really strong brawler right now. For Lou, I would like to see an increase to his main attack damage from every snow cone. I would like to see it increased from 532 to 632. Lou again only used on Hot Zone, and even then only used on certain maps, especially the ones with one zone. So I think him getting an attack buff will be really good. For Ruffs, I would like to see an increase to his air support gadget overall radius. I would like to see it cover more area of the map, and I would like to see its damage increased from 700 to 850. For Belle, we're going to be putting massive nerfs on Belle because for me, Belle is a top 3 brawler in the meta right now. Firstly, I would like to see her main attack decreased from 1540 to 1460. I would like to see a decrease to the number of times her main attack can bounce from 3 to 2. And I would like to see a nerf to her positive feedback star power, where her shield percentage will be reduced from 20% to 15%. Belle has always been a solid brawler in the meta, but as of this update has been definitely top 3, top 5 brawler. I think she needs these nerfs really quickly. She's really strong in the meta right now. For Buzz, I would like to see a decrease to his reserve buoy super distance. So whenever he charges his super with that gadget, I would like to see its distance nerfed by 2 tiles, because I think it's a bit OP, especially in maps like in-game modes like Gem Grab and Siege, and even Hot Zone, to be able to just go to the zone as quickly as possible. Now you have brawlers like Carl who can do that, you have brawlers like Mortis who can do that, as well as Carl, Mortis, yep, basically those two. So if this nerf is brought to it, I think these 2 brawlers will be even better in Hot Zone for doing that ability itself. I forgot to mention Gale, that's right, with the spring ejector gadget. But yeah, I would like to see a decrease to the distance of the gadget when you charge the super by 2 tiles. I think that would be a reasonable nerf, because I think it's just a bit too OP to be able to go there as quickly as you can. And with it being that you can charge your super whenever people are around you, you can hide behind walls, that itself makes it really OP. I would like to see this nerf. And the final brawler we have is Ash. So right now, Ash Byron is a good duo, but I think it's gonna become less popular the further we go. But I would like to see a trait added to Ash, which would reduce Ash's rage whenever he gets healed from all external sources. By this, I mean all sources except when you gradually heal when you don't attack. For all other healing instances, I would like to see his rate maybe being decreased by like 10% or something. I'm not sure how it should be. Let me know how you would like to see it, but I think this is a trait that should be added so that, well, Ash and a healer is, well, no longer viable at all. So that is it for this video. If you all have enjoyed, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe. It does help out a lot. And go and check out some other videos that I have on my channel. You can go check out my Brawlysis series. This is also a part of Brawlysis, where we basically go over and analyze a lot of stuff in Brawl Stars, and we go over some tips and buffs, nerfs like I did in this video, and just how to use certain brawlers in certain game modes. I hope you all have enjoyed. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.